Welcome back to part 3 of Miss Daisy is Crazy. So if you've not listened to parts 1 or 2, or both, go ahead and go back to our read aloud section and make sure you listen to those first. All right, so where we left off, the kids were wanting to buy the school and make themselves an arcade. We are now at chapter 6, titled, What Do You Want to Be? At the end of the day, Miss Daisy sat on the floor and we all sat around her. She told us to talk about what we want to be when we grow up. I want to be a veterinarian, said Andrea Young. Does anyone know what the word veterinarian means? Asked Miss Daisy. That's somebody who doesn't eat meat, said Michael Robinson. It is not, I said. That's a vegetarian. A veterinarian is somebody who fought in a war. That's a veteran, Miss Daisy said. Andrea, would you like to tell the class what a veterinarian does? A veterinarian is an animal doctor. That Andrea Young thinks she knows everything, but for once, I knew she was wrong. Animals can't be doctors, I said. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Miss Daisy said a veterinarian is a doctor who takes care of animals. That made a lot more sense than that ridiculous thing Andrea said. Emily was next, and she said she wanted to grow up and become a nurse in a hospital. Why do you want to do that? I asked. People come into hospitals all sick and injured, their arms falling off, their guts hanging out. AJ, Miss Daisy said in her serious voice. Emily got all upset and ran out of the room crying. What did I say? I asked. What do you want to be when you grow up, AJ? Miss Daisy asked. I'm going to be a famous football player, I said. Really? And why did you choose that field? Because I love football, I said, and if I was a football player, I wouldn't have to read or write or do arithmetic or go to school. My friend Billy told me that football players are really, well, they don't go to school a lot, say that. Your friend told you that? Said Miss Daisy. Yeah, Billy is really smart. He also told me that if you dig a hole deep enough, you can dig all the way to China. And if you fall into that hole, you'd fall all the way through the earth and pop right off the other side. And you'd be moving so fast that you shoot all the way into outer space. Michael Robinson said that sounded cool. He decided that instead of becoming a firefighter, he wanted to become one of those hole-digging astronauts. Emily came back into the room with a tissue. Everybody else went around in a circle saying what they wanted to be. This girl named Lindsay said she wanted to be a singer. Ryan said he wanted to be a businessman like his dad. Andrea Young said that if she couldn't be a veterinarian, she wanted to be a teacher like Miss Daisy. Then she gave Miss Daisy a big smile. I hate her. Bonbons and footballs. The next day, Miss Daisy brought in a box with ribbons on it and told us she had a surprise. What's in the box? We pleaded. It's a secret. Please. Well, okay, she said, opening the box. It's bonbons. Miss Daisy said she thought we might be able to use them for arithmetic problems, so we could learn together. She put the bonbons on the table in front of the room. There must have been 20 or 30 of them. Can somebody think of an arithmetic problem using bonbons? She asked. Andrea? If you had 3 bonbons in a box, said Andrea, and she put 3 bonbons into her pencil box, and you had 3 boxes just like that, how many bonbons would you have all together? Miss Daisy looked at Andrea's pencil box for a long time, counting in her head and on her fingers. And anyone would know that 3 boxes with 3 bonbons in each box would equal 9 bonbons. 3 times 3 is 9, but Miss Daisy didn't seem to know that. Finally, she just opened up Andrea's pencil box and popped the 3 bonbons into her mouth. Who cares how many bonbons I would have, she asked, as long as I get to eat some of them. Miss Daisy really needs a lot of help with arithmetic. After she had eaten her bonbons, Miss Daisy passed out bonbons for all of us, and we had a bonbon party. Then she said that was enough arithmetic for the day and asked what we wanted to talk about for the rest of our math time. Football, I shouted. Miss Daisy didn't like that I talked without raising my hand first. Personally, I don't see what raising my hand has to do with talking. I don't talk with my hands. But she did let me talk, and I told her that football is just about my favoriteest thing in the world, and I know all about it. My dad takes me to every game of the Chargers, a professional football team. Maybe you can help me, Miss Daisy said. I always wondered, how long is a football field? 100 yards, I told her. Anybody knows that? Wow, that's a big field. With a field that big, how can you and your father see what's going on? My dad always tries to get us seats near the 50-yard line, I said. They're the best tickets. Why? Miss Daisy asked. Because the 50-yard line is right in the middle of the field. Does that mean that half of 100 yards would be 50 yards? She asked. Yep. I see, Miss Daisy said. So if you know there are 100 yards on a football field, do you know how many pennies there are in $1, Andrea? 100, hollered Andrea Young, just like a football field. Really, said Miss Daisy. So if half the football field is 50 yards, how many pennies are in a half a dollar? 50, Michael Robinson shouted, because 50 is half of 100, and 50 plus 50 makes 100. And half of 50 must be 25 because 2 quarters is 50 cents, added Emily. And 4 quarters makes $1, Ryan exclaimed. And 4 quarters makes a football game too. Miss Daisy shouted, jumping up and down with excitement. Wait a minute, I said. I thought you told us we were finished with arithmetic. This wasn't arithmetic, she told us. It was football. Well, okay, I said, just as long as you weren't trying to sneak arithmetic into our conversation about football. Would I do that? Miss Daisy asked, and then she winked at me. Sometimes it's hard to tell if Miss Daisy is serious or not. A lot of books. On Thursday, Principal Klutz came into our class. He was wearing a hat, which almost made him look like a regular person who had hair on his head. I have to go to a meeting, Principal Klutz told us, but I heard that some of you second graders had something important you wanted to discuss with me. Miss Daisy said that I could ask my question. Can we buy the school? Principal Klutz said. Is what grown-ups say instead of or when they don't know what to say. Why do you want to buy the school? Principal Klutz asked. Because we want to turn it into a video game arcade, I told him. I see, the principal said. Schools cost a lot of money. How much? I asked. If you tell us how much it will cost, we'll raise the money. I'll tell you what, Principal Klutz said. I can't sell you the school, but I can rent it to you for the night. Do you know the difference between buying and renting? Andrea Young got her hand up first, as usual. When you buy a video, you get to keep it forever, she said. If you rent it, you have to return it to the video store in a couple of days. That's right, the principal said. Would you be interested in renting the school for a night? How much would that cost? I asked. 1 million pages, Principal Klutz replied. Huh? If you kids read 1 million pages in books, you can turn the school into a video game arcade for one night. 1 million pages? That sounded like a lot of books. How about 1,000 pages, I suggested. 1 million, said Principal Klutz. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. Would it be okay if some of the other classes helped us out? Miss Daisy asked. Certainly, Principal Klutz said. The more the merrier, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If the kids in this school read 1 million pages, I will come to the big video game night dressed in a gorilla suit. You've got a deal, I said, rushing forward to shake Principal Klutz's hand. In my head, I was already hatching a plan. So do you think Miss Daisy is crazy, or do you think she's pretty smart, huh? Well, you're going to tune in next time to finish up our story.